What changes has this hit TV series made in your life? Not too many, other than the fact that I sleep at night now instead of sleeping in the day as I did when I was working at nightclub. What actually happened? I was working at a nightclub in Los Angeles and Aaron would have been the producer. Sanford and Son was a hugely popular show that had fans laughing week after week. But behind the funny moments, there were some surprising events and drama. Was it just Fred Sanford's antics, or was there more happening behind the scenes? Let's take a look at the moments that made Sanford and Son so special and the behind-the-scenes stories that made it even more interesting. Sanford and Son was a hit American TV show that first aired on January 14, 1972 on NBC. It ran until March 25, 1977 and was based on a British comedy called Steptoe and Son, which was popular in the UK. NBC created Sanford and Son to compete with CBS's All in the Family, and it quickly became one of the funniest and most memorable shows on TV. The show focused on Fred G. Sanford, a funny but grumpy junk dealer who was always coming up with wild ideas to make money. His son, Lamont, was the more sensible one, trying to keep his dad's plans from getting too out of hand. Their back-and-forth arguments, jokes and catchphrases made audiences laugh for years. The theme song, "The Street Beater," was created by Quincy Jones. Even though the song didn't make the music charts, it became super popular and is still recognized today. You might have heard it on other shows like Scrubs or The Simpsons, or on Quincy Jones' Greatest Hits album. Interestingly, the original plan for Sanford and Son was to feature two Italian men. NBC didn't think a black-led show would succeed. They even tested the show with Italian actors, Paul Sorvino and Barney Hughes. But it didn't work. Thankfully, NBC agreed to go with the original idea, and the rest is history. After Sanford and Son ended, a few spin-offs were attempted. Sanford Arms aired briefly in 1977, focusing on supporting characters, and Whitman Mayo, who played Grady, had a short-lived show in 1975. Red Fox tried to revive Sanford and Son with a new series called Sanford in 1980, but without Demond Wilson, who played Lamont. It didn't last. Sanford and Son wasn't just a show. It was a game-changer that opened up new possibilities for black stories on TV. It's a classic that people still remember fondly for its humor, heart, and the unforgettable characters of Fred and Lamont. Fred Sanford, played by Red Fox, is an older, grumpy junk dealer who always thinks he's about to strike it rich with his wild money-making schemes. He runs Sanford and Son with his son Lamont. But Fred barely lifts a finger, leaving most of the work to Lamont. Lamont dreams of escaping the junk business and being his own man, but he loves his dad too much to leave. Fred and Lamont argue a lot, often calling each other names. Fred calls Lamont dummy, and Lamont fires back with old fool. They fight over money, chores, and pretty much everything else. But at the end of the day, they're family and can't stay mad for long. In one episode, Lamont quits and joins a competitor, but things fall apart without each other, and they quickly reunite. Lamont, played by Demond Wilson, is the more practical of the two, but he's also a bit greedy. Once, he tries to sell 2 coffins for a high price, even though they make his dad superstitious. In another episode, Lamont throws a poker party and ends up getting tricked by some cheats. Fred steps in to help, showing that he's sharper than Lamont gives him credit for. Fred has a feisty sister-in-law, Aunt Esther, who's always carrying a Bible. She and Fred are constantly at odds, trading insults and threats. Fred calls her names like Gorilla or Esther Kong, and she swings her purse at him, calling him old heathen. But she has a soft spot for Lamont and even shows kindness to Fred. Fred's close friends, like Grady and Bubba, add to the laughs. Grady is calm and cheerful with his famous line. Bubba is always ready to join in on Fred's crazy ideas. Then there's Julio, the friendly neighbor who Fred teases with ethnic jokes, but ends up respecting. Fred even helps Julio's nephew with schoolwork, showing he has a caring side too. Donna, Fred's girlfriend, is patient and sweet. She stands by him, despite his grumpy personality and wacky plans. At first, Lamont calls her the Barracuda because he doesn't trust her. But he eventually accepts her once he sees she genuinely cares for his dad. Lamont's best friend, Rallo, is another character who Fred doesn't trust because he's been in trouble before. Rallo tries to show Fred he's changed, but Fred keeps a close eye on him. There are also the local cops, Officer Smitty and Officer Hoppy, who pop in to check on things. Smitty is smooth while Hoppy tries to use cool slang, which usually sounds funny coming from him. Sanford and Son keeps you laughing with Fred's silly schemes, family arguments, and neighborhood drama. But the show is really about a father and son who might argue constantly, but love each other and are always there for each other. Sanford and Son was a massive success during its run from 1972 to 1977, quickly becoming one of the most watched shows on American television. It dominated the ratings, ranking in the top 10 from its very first season. At one point, it was so popular that it knocked out the beloved Brady Bunch from ABC's lineup in 1974. The show reached its highest point in the Nielsen ratings during the 1972 and 1974 seasons, where it was the second most watched show, just behind All in the Family. It even came very close to beating All in the Family. By the 1974 season, Sanford and Son helped NBC dominate Friday nights, leading to the success of other shows like Chico and The Man, which ranked No. 3 that season. Later in the evening, shows like The Rockford Files and Policewoman kept the momentum going, placing No. 12 and No. 15 in the ratings. However, by its final season, the show's ratings started to drop, but it was still popular when it was cancelled. Its legacy continued to grow even after it ended, with Time magazine naming it one of the 100 best TV shows of all time in 2007. Sanford and Son received a lot of recognition during its run, including several Emmy nominations and wins. In 1972, it was nominated for Outstanding Comedy Series and Outstanding News Series. These nominations were thanks to the work of executive producer Bud Yakin and producer Aaron Rubin. Red Fox was nominated multiple times for his role. In 1972 and 1973, he was nominated for Outstanding Continued Performance by an actor in a leading role in a comedy series. In 1974, he also got a nomination for Best Lead Actor in a Comedy Series. The show was also recognized for its technical work. In 1976, it was nominated for Outstanding Achievement in Videotape Editing for a series for the episode Earthquake 2, with Ken Denisoff getting credit for editing. Overall, Sanford and Son earned 4 wins and 12 nominations, showing its impact on television. One of the most notable things about Sanford and Son was its diverse cast. It was one of the first sitcoms to feature a predominantly African American cast, which was a major breakthrough in the portrayal of African Americans on TV. At a time when most shows featured white casts, Sanford and Son played an important role in breaking down racial barriers on television. During the 1973 to 1974 season of Sanford and Son, something big happened behind the scenes. Red Fox, who played Fred Sanford, walked off the show. He said it was because of health issues, but really, it was about money. Fox, who was making $19,000 per episode, wanted a bigger deal. He asked for 25% of the show's profits. The producers, Tandem Productions, didn't like that and sued him for $10 million. After some fighting, the issue was finally worked out in June 1974. Fox got a raise to $25,000 per episode, which was the same as All in the Family star Carol O'Connor. He also got 25% of the show's profits. Even though Fox wasn't on the set for the first few episodes of season 4, NBC made sure to show his return as the big season premiere. They waited to air the episodes filmed without him, but by 1977, Fox was offered a big deal by ABC to host his own variety show, The Red Fox Comedy Hour. He left Sanford and Son, which was also losing viewers and getting lower ratings. There were rumors that the fight between Fox and NBC wasn't just about money. Some said it had to do with Fox not being happy about his dressing room. Apparently, he was upset that his room didn't have a window, which added to the drama. One of the most controversial moments on the show happened in a courtroom scene. Lamont was contesting a speeding ticket and Fred stood up to represent him. Looking at the crowd of black people there for their own tickets, Fred said, "There's enough in here to make a Tarzan movie." This line caused a lot of upset. It was offensive because Fred used a racial slur, even though the show was known for tackling tough topics with humor. This moment showed how far it sometimes pushed the limits. It made some people uncomfortable and sparked debates about what was acceptable in comedy. The show's set also had some interesting facts. For example, the junk shop Fred Sanford ran was filmed in a building far from the fictional Watts neighborhood. Son, you made an old man happy, and we get $60 besides. Okay, smart guy. Now just tell me one thing. Where you gonna sleep tonight? I'll sleep in your bed. The actual location was in North Hollywood, about 16 miles away. That same building appeared in an episode of Emergency in 1973. Another cool piece of Sanford and Son history is Fred's famous truck. The 1951 Ford F1 became an important part of the show. After the show ended, the truck was sold at auction and used for the spin-off Sanford Arms and Sanford. Eventually, it ended up with Donald Dimmitt, a junk dealer in Indiana. In 2014, two car dealership owners, Tim Franco and Jeff Cantor, bought and restored the truck to look like it did on the show. They now display it in their dealers. These stories show just how Sanford and Son made a big impact, both on TV and off. From the drama behind the scenes to the lasting legacy of the truck, the show continues to be remembered. Let's take a look at some interesting behind-the-scenes facts from Sanford and Son that you may not know. Sanford and Son was full of interesting behind-the-scenes stories. One of the most special relationships on the show was between Red Fox and LaWanda Page. The two had been friends since childhood, and when it came time to cast Esther, Fred's sister-in-law, Fox, insisted that Page was the only choice. The producers weren't sure about her because she didn't have much on-camera experience, but Fox was so firm in his decision that he threatened to quit the show if she wasn't cast. Thankfully, Page got the role, and her character became one of the most memorable on the show. As for the characters of Lamont Sanford and Rolla Lawson, they were best friends on screen. But behind the scenes, the relationship between Demon Wilson and Nathaniel Taylor wasn't as friendly. In a 2015 interview, Wilson admitted that Taylor never really liked him, and the two hadn't spoken since 1977. Wilson joked that their good on-screen chemistry might have been the result of the fact that they were high most of the time. Red Fox was also a big fan of the 1930s vocal group The Ink Spot. He loved their music so much that he often sang their songs on the show. However, the rights to those songs were really expensive, and NBC didn't want to pay for them. So, Fox decided to pay for the rights out of his own pocket, just to include his favorite music on the show. In Season 2, Episode 21, titled Home Sweet Home for the Aged, there's a touching moment when Fred Sanford has a photograph of his late wife Elizabeth on his nightstand. It's the only time we see a picture of Elizabeth in the entire series, adding a bit of emotional depth to Fred's character. Demond Wilson, who played Lamont, didn't think the show would last when he first joined. He thought it would just be a quick job for some cash and fame. Wilson didn't expect the show to become so popular. He caught the attention of producer Bud Yakin after a guest appearance on All in the Family in 1971, where he played a burglar. Red Fox's transformation into Fred Sanford was all about the shoes. Fox once said that as soon as he put on those big, heavy shoes, he became Fred Sanford. Without them, he didn't feel like the character. The shoes were a key part of his performance. Fred Sanford's character was named after Red Fox's late brother as a tribute to him. Fox lost his brother 5 years before the show started, so naming Fred after him was his way of honoring him. Lamont Sanford was named after Lamont Owsley, a teen Fox knew when he formed a washtub band in his youth. Red Fox's famous heart attacks were actually inspired by his mother. Fox said his mom, Mary Sanford, used to pretend she was having heart attacks when she wanted something done. She had health issues, and Fox remembered her overacting to get attention. He used this for Fred Sanford's funny but dramatic moments on the show. Richard Pryor and Paul Mooney, two comedy legends, helped write 2 episodes of Sanford and Son. They co-wrote The Dowry, and Sanford and Son and Sister makes 3 during the 2nd season. Their writing added a lot of humor and creativity to the show. One time, when Red Fox had a real heart attack while filming The Royal Family in 1991, his co-stars thought he was joking like Fred Sanford. He had collapsed during rehearsals, and everyone thought it was just part of his act. They quickly realized it was serious, and paramedics were called to help him. Let's dive into the major cast of Sanford and Son and see what happened to them after the show. Demond Wilson, who brought Lamont Sanford to life for 6 seasons, never expected Sanford and Son to be a big hit. He thought it would just be a quick way to earn some money and get some attention before moving on to the next project. However, he quickly found himself becoming part of one of the most beloved TV duos. Wilson later shared his complicated relationship with co-star Red Fox in his book Second Banana. Director Alan Rafkin described Wilson as one of the most evil actors he worked with, mentioning Wilson's disrespect for rehearsals and the tension between him and Fox, which sometimes led to the pair playing with real guns on set while they were stoned. Red Fox, the comedian who played the iconic Fred Sanford, was known for his raunchy stand-up acts. Fox had a long career in comedy and acting, with roles in films like Harlem Nights and Norman. Is That You? His character Fred became a household name. Sadly, Fox passed away in 1991 at the age of 68 from a heart attack. LaWanda Page, who played Fred's tough sister-in-law Esther, had a career full of TV and film roles. Before Sanford and Son, she performed as a comedian and dancer. Her character Esther became a fan favorite, but Page also appeared in shows like Martin and Amen and films like Friday and Zap. Page passed away in 2002 at the age of 81 from a heart attack. Lynn Hamilton, who played Fred's girlfriend Donna, had a long career after Sanford and Son ended. Although she didn't appear in the spin-offs, she went on to star in the miniseries Roots, The Next Generations, and had a recurring role in The Waltons. She also appeared in shows like 227, Curb Your Enthusiasm, and Sister. Hamilton even had roles in films like The Vanishing of Elvis and Me. Her last TV appearance was in 2009 on Cold Case. Raymond Allen, who played Woody Anderson, didn't have a large number of roles in his career, but he left his mark with memorable appearances. He was also known for his role as Ned the Wino in Good Times and for his part in the film Darktown Strutters. Allen passed away in 2020 at 91. Whitman Mayo, who played Grady Wilson, was a well-known TV and film actor. His role as Grady was so popular that it earned him a spin-off show, Grady. Though it didn't last long, Mayo had many TV roles, including appearances in Boycott and Waterproof. He also had parts in movies and died in 2001 at the age of 70 from a heart attack. Hal Williams, who played Officer Smith, joined the cast in 1972. He became a favorite for his role as the straight-laced cop to Howard Platt's more clueless Officer Hoppy. Williams continued acting after Sanford and Son, appearing in shows like Parks and Recreation, The Jeffersons, and Private Benjamin. He's even had roles in Hill Street Blues and Tales from the Crypt. Don Bexley played Bubba Bexley on Sanford and Son. He was a comedian and actor who brought a lot of humor to the show as one of Fred's friends. After Sanford and Son, Bexley appeared in other TV shows like Hunter, The Royal Family, and Cheers. He also acted in movies like Vibes, Little Miss Marker, and Sparkle. Bexley passed away on April 15, 1997 at the age of 87 due to heart and kidney failure after a fall. His work is still remembered by many. These actors and their characters brought Sanford and Son to life, and their careers after the show are just as interesting as the roles they played on screen.